Hi, it's Elizabeth Willits here from Investing in Women, and I'm delighted because today I am chatting with Rebecca Newenham, and we're going to be talking all about franchises and whether they are the secret sauce to a great career. So as people are joining us, if you can let us know if you can hear us all okay, give us a like or an emoji, that'd be brilliant. But if you want to learn about franchising and why it might be a good choice for a flexible career, if you've got any questions about franchising, then this will be a brilliant conversation for you to listen to, and there will be a replay available afterwards. But it's Elizabeth Willits here from Investing in Women, and with Rebecca from Get Ahead, and we're going to be talking all about franchising and why they are amazing and learning more about them. So thank you so much for joining us, Rebecca. Before we start, do you want to give us a little bit of a background to you and how you got involved in franchising?
Oh, no, absolutely. Lovely to be here, Liz, and lovely to be here with your community. So I had a corporate career as a retail buyer for a number of years. I worked both for Superdrug and Sainsbury's, absolutely loved it. It's of that time when budgets were limitless, lots of travel and creating some amazing brands. So love that. Then went on and had an 8-year career break while I had our 3 girls. And again, that was very rewarding, but I always knew that I had more to offer and wanted something for myself. And I guess I never quite, didn't find my thing, but as I said, I love the buying, but I always knew that I had more to offer. And my mum, when I was growing up, ran her own business, and so she really inspired me all those years ago that actually there was an opportunity somewhere for me to get that flexibility. So Get Ahead was born when my youngest daughter started school, so back in 2010. So I can't believe I keep forgetting it's actually 2022 now.
I know, it's 12 years, isn't it?
I know, I feel very old, but so it's great to be here to sort of share my learnings, and I think for us all, we're really keen even more now, aren't we, to get that flexibility, get that work-life balance.
Absolutely. So if people don't know, if they're watching this and they don't know what a franchise is, what is a franchise?
Yes, well, I didn't used to know really what a franchise was, and I used to hear these sort of horror stories of, oh, don't go down that route, you'll spend lots of money and no one will ever really support you, but it couldn't be further from the truth. So a franchise is very much an opportunity to buy into a tried and tested system, a business in a box, and you'll probably hear that quite a lot, but that is ultimately what it is. You're buying a system and you're being taught how to be your own boss and run something without you having to recreate the wheel. And I think sometimes people think, well, that means I haven't got an opportunity to be a little bit entrepreneurial, when actually you have. Buying a franchise, you don't have to be an entrepreneur, but there'll be an element of you utilising your entrepreneurial spirit to make it your own. There's a huge opportunity there.
Okay, so you're getting the support if you need that support. Well, I mean, we all need support, don't we?
Yes.
Whether we are in our career, but particularly when we're trying something new. Yes. But you also, if you want to add a creative stamp.
No, exactly. You can make it fit. It's very much gives leeway. Obviously, each franchise is different, but ultimately, generally, you're able to make it a little bit your own. But the core things, the way it works, is already there for you. So you're not having to sort of learn unnecessarily the things that are needed to do.
So it's a business in a box, and I'm sure there is going to be lots of different types of franchises available. So do you want to talk us through some of the franchises that people...
So I would recommend, if anyone's interested in just understanding what is a franchise, obviously we've all heard of McDonald's and coffee shops and places like that.
They're franchises, aren't they? And it's Domino's.
Yes, absolutely. And you study a lot of food. So we exhibited at the franchise show in Excel in the autumn, and I was amazed at the breadth of businesses there, but a lot of food and gyms and sort of larger ones, and then much smaller ones as well. So the British Franchise Association is a wonderful resource online for you guys to go and have a little look and a play. And within that, you'll see the breadth of franchise. A lot of children's activities are franchise, so baby ballet and things like that. So that's what I love about it. It's a huge industry, but for me as a franchise owner, I've been hugely welcoming as well. I've never felt a sort of competitive edge to it. It's very much people want to care and share. And since we became members of the British Franchise Association last year, it's opened huge doors for me to speak and for us to just be recognised for the work-life balance that we're giving. And so I would say that's a good resource to look at. So it's the British Franchise Association.
I'll write that down, British Franchise. And then you said there's the show at the Excel as well. So if someone
so I don't know why, but there seems to be sort of 2 exhibitions that run around the same time. So if you're based in and around the Midlands, there's always one in Birmingham, and then there's a London one, and they happen twice a year. So just have a little Google for that.
Yeah.
But they're really worth it. And I remember when I was thinking about franchising, I went to the one I think in Birmingham, and they had lots of free resources, lots of information. And again, that's what I love. There's lots of sharing information about sort of understanding what a franchise looks like, what a franchise agreement is. You know, people are very keen to share information, which is wonderful. So that would be a good starting point for anyone wanting to know a little bit more.
Brilliant. I can see, because I mean, it's such a risk starting a business. You don't know if it's going to work. You try it, and I mean, a lot of businesses fail, don't they, within the first 5 years?
It's huge stats around that. Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're buying something or investing in something that's proven, then it's probably actually a safer place.
Yes, because you can do all that. I have to get my teeth around this due diligence beforehand, in the sense of speaking to real people. So when I'm onboarding or talking to prospects, I will always get them to speak to a couple of my franchisees, you know, one that's established for a number of years and a later one, just so they can really hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And I always find it a bit odd if a potential franchisee doesn't want to speak to other members of my team, because actually it's all, you're buying a franchise, but you're also buying into a ready-made community. So you want to feel that you've got an allegiance to that as well.
It's been proven to work. I suppose you've built all those systems, you've tried the business in the early years, you know whether it works or not, or you've made those tweaks.
Yes, and that's a big thing as well. So that's a really valid point, Liz, because buying into a franchise, it's not a static thing either. You know, if you've got a strong franchise owner behind you, they're continually adding best practice, bringing new things on board. So if I look back to what I've introduced in the last few months, we have Trustis now, which is like the testimonials and recommendation numbers of stars on the website. And we've introduced things like that. And that's something that perhaps if you're on your own, setting up your own business, you probably couldn't justify, but as being part of a franchise, you're constantly being pumped with the latest technology and the latest ideas, and you're learning as a collective and you're making an impact more than you would do if you were doing it solely on your own.
I mean, as a business owner, I know how hard it is to start a business, not know if it's going to work or not. Have that constant, is it working? Do I need to make these tweaks?
Yes.
Do I need to invest in this system, that system? Shall I invest in this training or that? And to have that support, and somebody that's gone, you know, is a bit further along the path can say, yeah, this works, this is proven. I mean, that's just invaluable. It saves so much time.
It's like having a big sort of blanket around you and someone saying, don't worry, you know, you've done it before, you're all fine. And the buddying system. So introducing that within the business as well, where I will buddy someone up with a franchisee that's been around for a longer amount of time, because there are always, as we know, questions you want to ask, but it's about having that safe space to do it, isn't it? And I think if you, like you rightly say, if you're doing it on your own, who can I ask to actually...
Different franchises, available a lot of food. So if someone's interested in buying a franchise, would you recommend that they explore a franchise in an area that they were passionate about? So, you know, if they are a foodie, would that...
No, I think there are lots of sort of different elements at play, aren't there? There's the flexibility piece. Do you want something that you can run from home? Do you want to have a premises? Because a lot of franchises have premises, and obviously that comes with another whole ball game of legislation and cost and things like that. So it's being very clear, I think, from the beginning, what is it that what are your strengths? What do you want to achieve by buying a franchise? And then sort of almost narrowing down your research on that. So again, looking at the BFA website and just getting a quick glance at the type of businesses available will be really helpful then in your selection.
Yeah, absolutely. So would you say that somebody needed experience within their franchise?
No, I don't think so, because I think certainly with, you know, if I'm talking, for example, Mars, you get that training. And I've noticed that in a lot of the publications, so things like What Franchise, again, is a great resource to look at. So that's an online portal. They also have a magazine. They talk a lot in there about the different types of franchising and what's involved with those. They all have the big induction. So if you're buying into something that's very systemized, you'd have all that training. And sometimes these training sessions can go on for a long time at the beginning. but certainly it's sort of understanding what ticks the boxes for you. So if I'm looking at myself, I wanted to develop a business where I wasn't doing the doing, but I was playing to my strengths. And I needed to be honest with, well, what are my strengths from the beginning? So it's probably worth investing a little bit of time in your own personal development, working possibly with a coach to understand exactly what you want at this stage in your career. Because I know there are a number of career coaches, aren't there, that are available to sort of really help you. And it's about being honest. Now's your time to really carve out the next stage of your career. So why wouldn't you invest a little bit of time in that rather than jumping into something too quickly?
Yeah. So generally, do people invest in franchisees? Do they have, is there a certain sort of type of person that would get
so I think entrepreneurial spirit is something. So like we said before, someone that is prepared to sort of put it out there and expose themselves slightly, but not entrepreneurs that want to do everything themselves. So I think there's definitely the entrepreneurial spirit. There are people that like being with other people, so that sense of actually having a confidence and an natural interest in communicating. So if I look at our franchise, my guys go networking a lot. I can't have someone that is scared of talking to other people in an open environment. Obviously, we give training for promoting that, but it's about being naturally interested. So I think the sort of the core strands are a good communicator, someone that likes listening, but also someone that's prepared to do a little bit of selling. And I know people hear that word, don't they? And they're sort of, oh, how can I stand up and talk about myself, or how can I promote it? Again, you'd be surprised if you've got that passion, which franchisees generally have. You naturally sell and give your message out and engage in a way that people want to buy from you.
Yeah. So are there any downsides, do you think, to owning a franchise?
I suppose like anything, there are elements perhaps of not being restricted to something, but depending on the franchise, you might think, oh, I'd like to do it slightly differently. So that's why it's so really super important that you do your investigation and your research beforehand. And you need to get on with the franchisor. So you need to get on with the people that are in the head office environment, because obviously that's critical to you feeling comfortable and feeling that it's the right match for you. So I would say it's very odd, especially from my point of view, if someone hasn't researched the business before you have a conversation with the franchisor, because you want to just get a gauge as to how other people view it, how people are showing up online. As we all know, people can sell a dream, can't they? And then actually reality sometimes is slightly different. So it's making sure that the franchise you're interested in is being is showing up in the right ways in different platforms and things as well. And that goes down even to sort of how it's marketed and making sure that that seems consistent.
Yeah, brilliant. So when people invest in a franchise, do they tend to invest over a certain term, or?
Yes, so the standard seems to be for 5 years. So you buy a 5-year license, and generally the fee, so for example with ours it's £8,000 for a 5-year license. Some of my franchisees have paid that monthly, some of them have paid it in one go. So there are different ways of doing it. So if you're looking into a franchise, remember that fee actually covers the whole span of the license. So sometimes I've worked out before about how much it's worth a day. I think we sort of divided the 8,000 by the sort of number of years, and actually you'd be surprised then if you were to set up your own business, and as you've said, Liz,
I know it was well over £8,000.
Yeah, exactly, in about 2 weeks. Yeah, so I would say to anyone listening, don't get put off by that fee, because it's actually, you'd be amazed at what gets covered in it. So we, for example, have a very detailed sort of financial sheet that shows the breakdown of what's included in the cost of running a business versus what we provide under that fee. So I think it's sort of remembering that, but generally it's for a 5-year period, and then you will have different fees within that. So with ours, for example, it's 10% of turnover a month, and then 1% of marketing fee after the first year. But generally most franchises follow a similar pattern. But again, go on the BFA website and have a little look at what people are what the package involves. But we're at the lower end. Yeah.
Of your term, a 5-year term, typically what happens? You have to be paid.
So you then renew. So I've had my longest standing franchisee is in Leeds, and Fiona, so she's now on to her 4th year, and she's also bought an additional territory from me. So we've sort of come to a different arrangement, but it's very much you will work closely with your franchise owner as each year progresses, and then have an understanding. If you're working with a strong franchise owner, they will work with you on that business plan and say, well, what are you wanting to achieve? So for us, for example, I have strict KPIs that we review every month. So I have one-to-ones with each individual franchisee, and we're monitoring even down to, how many connections they've got on LinkedIn, who's viewing them, how many networking meetings they've gone to, just because obviously a strong franchise owner has an equal investment in the success of you running your own franchise. And so that's why it's really important that you feel comfortable with the franchise owner, because you want to be working as a team together. And the warning signs, if they're not bothered, or they don't have much access to them, you've got to sort of wonder, well, why are they in it?
So if someone comes in, we're going to talk a little bit about the support that's offered to them in a minute, but if they come in, they're flying, you're impressed, they're happy, what opportunities are there for someone to scale a franchise?
Yes. So Fiona, for example, my franchisee in Leeds, has done exactly that. So really strongly established herself in Leeds, which is her initial territory, and she's now bought another one. And so it's interesting. So most franchises seem to be territory based, but some aren't. And I know we could probably cover that later, but the territory at least gives you a comfortable, secure area in which to operate. I think if it's not territory driven, you could, for all you could have someone else running the franchise down the road from you. So there is a sense of protection around that. But if you're looking at a franchise that's territory based, you want to feel comfortable that you've got sort of a juicy enough patch in a way. So we work with territory mapping software, which clearly defines how many small business owners or business owners fit within my franchisee's territory, so they feel comfortable. And I always work and look at, where does my franchisee live? How far out do they want to be able to naturally travel? Although a lot of it obviously is online now, but that's sort of a way to operate it.
Yeah, and then you can hire people to work.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. So I think obviously some franchises work on an employed basis. Ours is slightly different because we're all around outsourcing and freelance bit, but there's certainly, I think, no restriction on who you can employ within a franchise, as long as everyone's sort of happy and the training's in place to be consistent. Because I guess that's another thing as well. You want to be buying into a franchise that is consistent in its branding, that actually invests in its marketing, because ultimately they're meant to be replicating the same message. And like we've said, you can go into a Costa and wherever you are, you've got the same feeling. That's what you want from a franchise, is that every franchisee is invested in the replication of that brand. So that's always a little bit of a telltale sign if you don't really feel like you're getting the same experience with different ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So when somebody purchases a franchise, what support is typically on offer?
So
website,
so from certainly from my experience, you get that sense of your online presence. So we do a lot of training as part of our induction, and LinkedIn is a big platform for us, and I know you love it as well, Liz. So LinkedIn plays a huge role in my franchisees marketing their offering and connecting with the right clients. So I've identified that as being something that if a new franchisee maybe joins us, and I've had a couple that possibly haven't had much knowledge of LinkedIn, then we offer bespoke training. So that's something to look at as well when you're thinking of buying into a franchise. I'm really understanding what you get as part of that training initially, because you want to feel really comfortable from day one that you've got everything lined up and that you can actually just go out to market and feel really comfortable. So that's a big one. So understanding who else is in the team, but also the training piece. And a couple of my franchisees possibly hadn't done a lot of public speaking before, so I organised public speaker training, for example, as part of their induction. So our induction is very bespoke. Other people, you might find you're going on an induction with other franchisees that are joining. It all depends on the size and scale.
Yeah, I can imagine it like if you bought a McDonald's franchise.
Oh yes, you would not be on your own.
Yeah, you'd probably go to a big induction in some hotels. I don't know.
And sitting with other people. Yeah, no, exactly. So it's all about what's deeply rooted for you, what motivates you, what are you looking for, therefore matching yourself up with the right franchise, and you'll feel drawn to the right one simply by doing your research.
Yeah. And So I've sort of been involved in franchise because I think we spoke on the phone. I used to do Colour Me Beautiful.
I remember.
Yeah, and it was a franchise territory, so I'm nodding my head. It felt very much, even though you were on your own, you were part of a wider organisation that had a shared mission, and we'd have lunches or biannual lunches, and it was quite nice. There would be ad hoc training as well that we could get involved in, and you sort of had a mentor that you could pick up the phone to.
So nice. And I think for ours, we're doing exactly that as we're scaling. I'm having almost like Northern England and Southern meetups. So I've got one in the north on the 8th of April. I'm taking out our virtual team actually face-to-face, going out for lunch. And the training is important as well. So every month I give my franchisees different training. So they're having some coaching next week as part of it. This month they've had LinkedIn training before. So that again is a key indicator as to actually how passionate the franchise owner is in delivering and adding value on a consistent basis. But you're absolutely right. You feel, I would imagine when you were doing that, you felt part of a wider team when you needed to.
It was nice. It wasn't, I mean, the food was nice, but it was nice just to speak to peers. And, you know, if you're working at home on your own, which I do now, actually I miss that.
I can imagine
doing what I'm doing, not really a direct competitor because they're in a different area, but get someone that gets
just having that safe, and also a bit of banter. And you know, we have WhatsApp groups going on. I'm not a huge fan of a WhatsApp group, but I know they're needed, and you know, we cherry pick how we communicate, but those are nice little touch points, so my team don't feel that they're totally isolated. And the meetups are really important. We did cocktail making for Christmas. There were 40 of us in London, and it was amazing. And, and I think especially because of the pandemic, we've missed even more that connection with people, haven't we? But that's certainly what buying into a franchise would give you, would be those conferences, meetups, training. And again, that's all part of your sort of research when you're looking at the right one for you. Feel that you make sure it's ticking the boxes of what you're actually wanting.
You feel that you gel, I suppose, as well.
Yes, no, absolutely. Because you will find other people that you can sort of have. I think we overuse that word, the tribe, don't we? My kids always get cringy when I mention that word, but you know, it is about finding that connection, together.
So, do you want to tell people a bit about Get Ahead franchise and Get Ahead VAs?
Oh yeah, no, I'd love to. Yeah, no, thanks, Liz. So So Get Ahead is an outsourcing agency. So we launched the franchise 4 years ago, and we're all about providing remote office business marketing support to our clients. So our clients are generally a busy business owner or a CEO or a founder, somebody that classically needs that in-house support, but they're prepared to look at outsourcing as opposed to employing someone, which can be costly, restrictive. So they come to us. So they would come to my franchisee. So for example, got Louise in West London. She would go networking. She meets a variety of different people, including referrers that will link her with other people. So LinkedIn plays a big role in that. Louise would find the client that needs the support, and then she would match that client to one or two members of our virtual pool of experts. So we've currently got around 55 virtual experts who are all freelancers that are part of our community. Louise would link her clients up to the best member of that team. They would do the work together. Louise would manage that relationship as and when she needed to. So for the client, it's great. They haven't got to go hunting around for different people to do the work. They would have one point of reference, and Louise would pay the virtual expert, and then she would invoice the client, and she makes her margin on the difference between that. So for Louise, it's wonderful because it's got a huge opportunity to scale. She's not doing the client delivery. And I think
trading time for money.
Exactly. And I think we've spoken before, Liz, haven't we? That's where our opportunity is unique in the sort of virtual assistant, virtual outsourcing space, in that my franchisees are unlimited amount of opportunity because they're not tying themselves down to doing the client delivery. So for me, I'm looking for somebody who used to managing a team, I guess, because that's quite important, is that they're comfortable outsourcing to other people, potentially have a marketing background, sales, HR, just somebody that
even like recruitment background, especially a temp recruiter.
Exactly, someone that's sort of naturally is good at communicating.
Yeah.
Likes a challenge and likes that slotting together, because that's what I've always loved. I'm nosy, I'm really interested, I like to understand what people want to do, and then I love that sense of when we connect a virtual expert to a client, you see that lovely match made in heaven going on, and you can go, right, thank you very much, I'm off to do that for someone else. It's lovely. It's a really satisfying thing. And I would say in the last couple of years we've really honed and grown the franchise opportunity, so we have a really vibrant community. So our virtual experts, the freelancers, get real value because they're not having to get out of their comfort zone and go and find client work, and they're naturally then part of our community. And we do lunch and learns, we're all about caring and sharing, and as I mentioned, we do meetups and things as well. But I would say the franchisees love the scalability and the sense of being their own boss, but with always they've got my backup, my mentoring and support, and the wider head office team as well. Which is invaluable, I think, isn't it? When you, like you said earlier, sometimes you want to bounce ideas off somebody, but you've got
and the training. I mean, if you were doing a bespoke LinkedIn training, you could be spending £500 easily on something like that.
You could, yes, no, exactly. And I think that's the thing. It's sort of us keeping up to date with what's needed then gets poured back into the franchisees' environment, and it's really, really rewarding then. And you learn so much from each other. I'm not expecting the franchisees to spend hours of training either, but it's just making sure they get what they need in order to really flourish in that outsourced environment.
Absolutely. And it's probably such a good time to be in your business, because so many small businesses were founded during the pandemic.
I know, it's amazing. So I remember pre-COVID, people would often say, well, how can I trust that a virtual expert of yours won't be running off doing something else because they're not sitting next to me in an office environment? Well, we've sort of sorted that bit out really quickly. But you're right, so many businesses have evolved in the last 2 years. Zoom facilitation has been a big service that we didn't really ever offer before. And now we're getting found a lot for that, helping at conferences, and hybrid events are becoming much more popular as well too. So people are definitely embracing the benefits of not having to go hunting for resource themselves, but coming to
and having a virtual assistant, and there's all these little micro businesses.
I know, it's fascinating.
Yeah, we've had a question from Julia on LinkedIn. She says, what sort of virtual experts do you have in your franchise? Can you give examples?
Good question, Julia. Yes, absolutely. Everything from Liz said, virtual assistants, so an administrator, copywriting. So we do a lot of copywriting and that would include blog writing, marketing strategists, social media marketing experts. So really a full range from admin right through to PR and marketing. And we would say we're very much a one-stop shop for a business owner. So generally anything they need doing, we have that within our.
Right. So it's anything really.
So IT, websites,
finance.
Yes, finance, bookkeeping, good old VAT returns and things like that. So a bit of everything really. So I know that sounds a bit general, but generally, anything that a business owner needs support with, we've got within the team.
And that's good.
We're always looking,
for a small business that needs to hire somebody like yesterday and.
No, exactly. And we will sometimes be that interim for someone as well. If they say, look, I'm really struggling to find somebody that can do some business development, they'll come to us. And again, business development, we've got people that are confident ringing, getting bums on seats for events, finding people that might want to be part of a mastermind, anything like that. But you're right, we're often an interim. And then on the flip side, sometimes we work with a client, and I had this recently where we were doing sort of 60 hours admin for a client a month, and they said, right, that's brilliant, but you've now proved to us that we've got a need, so we're going to employ somebody because that role would fit better as an employed role. And I remember when that first happened to me, being a little bit upset, thinking, but we've missed out now. But actually the flip side of that is, through our expertise, we've proved to a busy business owner that they can actually justify that head count. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, really interesting. Oh, brilliant. I love the sound of your business, what you're doing. I think you're helping so many people, not just like people that are owning the franchises, but obviously your pool of freelancers that work for you, and then business owners as well. So I don't know if anyone's got any other questions whilst we've got Rebecca here. If people want to learn a bit more about Get Ahead, I mean, I'm assuming you're also hiring for your.
Yes, I was going to say that. So always on the lookout for freelancers that maybe want to become part of a collective. So absolutely. So they can find me on your site, can't they? And also
Yeah.
direct through the website. And as I said, I love LinkedIn. So there is only, I think there's 2 Rebecca Newenhams on there. So you can find me on there, and yeah, always up for a chat with anyone as well. So that's great.
Brilliant. Oh, you're such an expert on franchise. I've absolutely loved our conversation.
Oh, thanks. Catch you all day.
Yeah, I know, it's been brilliant. So I will make sure there's a replay available of this afterwards. I will tag Rebecca in the Facebook group and on LinkedIn, so you can contact her directly if you want to ask any more questions about franchising and Get Ahead. Then and also I think I've already put the link to your website on this.
Oh, thank you. I've got the application as well through your site, haven't we? So that's great.
Yeah, if anyone else is interested in booking a discovery call and learning a little bit more about owning a franchise with Get Ahead, then please contact Rebecca.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody that watched today. Thank you.
Guys.
Bye.